Hi friends, today we're going to try a little bit of an unboxing and a book walk through some great Franciscan, either Franciscan inspired or outright and Franciscan books. So stay tuned. Okay, first things first, got to take off the bifocals and we're going to put on the reading glasses. So we're a little ready to start. You can tell there's a funny little glare. They also have a computer coating on them. So now I have my studious glasses on. We're going to get out my formation manual. I have to keep it in a Ziploc bag because it's just completely falling apart. And this book follows you all the way from inquiry, orientation, into candidacy, and of course after that Lester Bach does have some other books for you to study, but this one only goes through those initial processes. So I'm in chapter 21, which is how to love people, and here's the question that made us stop. Question 1. This is a time to review your growth in the Franciscan spirit and how it is affecting your life. Evaluate the following elements, not only for intellectual understanding, but also how you put the rule into practice. And it sounds like it's even going to be a simple question. No, this is how many parts there are. How have your relationships with people changed? What changes have you made in your prayer life? What changes have you achieved in regard to serving the poor and growing in a sense of stewardship? How have personal changes affected your family life, church life, fraternity life, single or married life, work life? What is your opinion regarding structures and law and their relationships to the Franciscan spirit? How can they help you achieve the goal of a group? At this point, how do you feel about making profession in the secular Franciscan way of life? What qualities or spirit are you developing in order to show a Franciscan spirit in dealing with other people? What is the goal of a call to the secular Franciscan order? How does profession affect society and the larger church? How has the formation process helped you in preparing for profession? And are there any improvements we might make? And remember, when they're talking about the rule, they're talking about this wonderful little book here. Some friends had asked me to see it, so I'm actually going to show you what it's like. There's a letter from the general minister of the order. Then the rule starts with the prologue, which is the exhortation of St. Francis to the brothers and sisters in penance, which is our original name. And there are 2 chapters. One is to those who do penance. This chapter 2 gets serious really fast. It's concerning those who do not do penance, and he doesn't hide anything. So that's an excellent one to review, this one. Then we have chapter 1. So the chapters are just these. Here's the first part of the rule. Second, so you can see they're just little paragraphs. I think there's, I want to say 26. Let's see if I get it. There are 26 of them, and then a little blessing of St. Francis in the back. And so this we study like every day, but lately, since we entered candidacy, we study one of those parts of the rule, one of those 26 parts every meeting. So every month we study one of those. Well, of course, I did the obvious thing you would do when asked a heavy question like that, and that is prayer and reflection. And we all know I love First Saturdays, so I did a lot of that on First Saturday. And I actually feel like the book 33 Days to Greater Glory is completely helping me with this, because it's a study on the book of the Gospel of John, and we live a gospel life. So going deeper into the Gospel of John and how Jesus is trying to bring us to the Father, absolutely, I feel like that has been invaluable. I actually just finished 33 Days to Greater Glory yesterday, and I can't recommend enough. I just can't even put it into words. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. Okay, so now I got some books recently as well for my birthday, and it's just a perfect timing with this question in candidacy. And I thought I'd do a little book walk, and you can see some of them are so new, they're still in the package. So, okay, let's see this one. St. Francis and the San Damiano Cross. It says it's Meditations on Spiritual Transformation. So you can see why I was drawn to this one right off the bat. It is by Susan St. Sing, PhD, and from Franciscan Media. There's actually a dedication to the people who were affected by Hurricane Katrina. So that's a fairly Franciscan thing to do. Okay, so here I am at the contents page. The Church of San Damiano in 5 parts. On his knees. Heads bows, eyes closed, no one looking around. Night prayer. What is it we see? The shape of the cross. the leper in the San Damiano crucifix, the responsibility of knowing, rarefied air, of shells, heaven, sky, and pilgrimage, the rock at the foot of the cross, of handedness, creatures, clear sailing, the canticle of brother son, conclusion, and at the end it says another vision, another version, and then appendixes and bibliography. So we're going to look at the length of the chapter next. So here's a chapter 1, starting there, and it's not bad. Not bad. And then they have end notes, but the notes are at the end of each chapter. I think we all know I prefer footnotes, but honestly, I prefer footnotes or full-on end notes at the end of the book, but these are at the end of the chapter. So if that's something that's going to drive you nuts, know that ahead of time. The appendix has the prayer before the San Damiano cross, done as choir 1 and choir 2. So this is the Murray Bodo version. And that can be done together. Oh, this looks lovely. I've actually never heard of that, so I'm kind of excited. Then it has the Canticle of Brother Son, and then a very short bibliography. Okay, so that was the first book, St. Francis and the San Damiano Cross. The next one is The Franciscan Saints, and this is by Robert Ellsburg. Let's see. It says people like to read from one saint every morning to get to know the Franciscan saints. So let's see. This one says it's dedicated to Monica. So introduction has St. Francis of Assisi, founder of the Friars Minor, and St. Clare, St. Bernard and companions, St. Anthony of Padua, St. Elizabeth of Hungary, servant of God Bernard of Quintaville, Blessed Verdiana, Blessed Humiliana of Cerci, St. Rose of Viterbo, St. Agnes of Assisi, servant of God Brother Juniper. So how many pages? It doesn't actually number how many there are, but there's, so let's see here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 on this page, probably more on the others. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it takes us up, the last person in here passed away in 2008. So it's a pretty contemporary book. Starts out with a quote from Pope Francis as well, and goes into them. Let's see here, St. Francis's, maybe 5 pages on St. Francis. Let's see. They do get shorter as they get towards the back. This is just one side of one page and part of another. So, and that seems to be how most of them are. Even St. Maximilian Kolbe is only like 2 sides of a page. And so these aren't terrible to read. You could totally read these one each morning. That wouldn't be burdensome. Maybe include them. Oh, and then there's at the end there's a calendar of the days to tell you when all their feast days are. So it could be a thing that when you're going to pray your Franciscan crown, that you would add one of these a day and ask that saint to pray for you. That would be a lovely thing. And in the back there's so we had by feast day, and then we have an index of names by alphabetical order. Okay, so that's that book. This one I was very excited. Second I heard about it, like I had to have it. We've talked about St. Francis in the early documents, and those are those books that are like 2 inches thick each, and there's 3 of them. Compendium. I think further on in my Franciscan journey, I'll be better. I'll be like, oh, that's where that quote from St. Francis is, and know which volume and roughly what area to go to or what source, and be able to look it up from there. Let's see. So this has acknowledgments, of course, index of subjects, index of names, index of places, index of scriptures, index of textual references for primary sources in the inner margins, and then a bibliography. So I think this is going to be really, really helpful. Like it even has fear as an index, feet, crucifix, let's see, preacher, and then under preacher there's like a million subheadings. And preaching, prelate, let's see, speech. Yeah, so even under teaching, it goes under like Anthony, Bonaventure, Brother, Christ, Church, Francis, Gospel. So there's definitely covers these in many different ways, subject-wise. The scriptures are all listed. Like I said, this one, okay, it's maybe it's a little self-explanatory, but it's a compendium for the early documents of St. Francis. So I'm pretty excited. So this works. It's for all three books, the Saint, the Founder, and the Prophet. If you haven't grabbed this yet, I think this is going to be invaluable. Okay, these are 3 books that were promoted by the farm that our friars are running, and all the food raised there is going to the soup kitchen. So I haven't looked at these at all yet. I just grabbed them. They have a book club, but I can't go to the book club because that's the same time as my formation meeting. So this is Braiding Sweetgrass. It is by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It says it's Indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. So I don't know, is it kind of a novel? Is it a textbook? Like, how is this approached? Let's see. I do not know. It's from 2013. That's all I got there. Starts out, Sky Woman following, Council of Pecans, The Gift of Strawberries and Offering, Asters and Goldenrod. Oh, so I see the sections are planting sweetgrass, tending sweetgrass, picking sweetgrass, braiding sweetgrass, and then burning sweetgrass. Interesting. I don't know. I'm going to read a tiny bit from the preface and see if we can get what this is. Hold out your hands and let me lay upon them a sheaf of freshly picked sweetgrass, loose and flowing, like newly washed hair. Golden green, glossy above, the stems are banded with purple and white where they meet the ground. Hold the bundle up to your nose. Find the fragrance of honeyed vanilla over the scent of river water and black earth, and you will understand its scientific name, meaning the fragrant holy grass. In our language, it is Winnegashok, the sweet-smelling hair of Mother Earth. Breathe it in and you start to remember things you didn't know you'd forgotten. I don't know. I really don't know. It says its old stories and new ones can be medicine for our broken relationship with Earth, a pharmacopoeia of healing stories that allow us to imagine a different relationship in which people and land are good medicine for each other. It says it's indigenous ways of knowing, scientific knowledge, and the story of one native scientist trying to bring them together in service to what matters most. Intertwining of science, spirit, and story. That is kind of intriguing. So I think it's in kind of a story form. Okay, let's look at the next one. It's called Soil and Sacrament. And this is by Fred Bahnson. Okay. Let's see. He also has a book called Making Peace with the Land. This is his 2013 book. Okay. Dedicated to his parents. Let's see. It says, the underground life of prayer, dwellers in the dust, at play in the fields of the Lord, out of Africa into Babylon, a new heaven, a new earth, significant soil, surpassing civilization. And there's an epilogue, acknowledgments, recommended readings, and an index. It opens with a quote from St. Irenaeus, the glory of God is a human being fully alive. And it starts out in December 28th in Cedar Grove, North Carolina. This one feels like somebody's journal, that they travel and have different experiences in different places. That is what it feels like to me. So that's maybe a little bit different. Okay. The next one, I know you're like, they're never ending. I'm a bit of a nerd. You may not have noticed. This is Bringing It to the Table on Farming and Food by Wendell Berry. It seems he has a whole lot of books. This was done in 2009. Part 1 is farming. Part 2 is the farmers. Part 3 is the food. Okay, let me read a tiny bit from their introduction as well and see if we can get anything. A few weeks after Michelle Obama planted an organic vegetable garden on the south lawn of the White House in March 2009, the business section of the Sunday New York Times published a cover story bearing the headline, Is Food Revolution Now in Season? The article, written by the paper's agricultural reporter, said after being largely ignored for years by Washington, advocates of organic and locally grown food have found a receptive ear in the White House. Certainly, these are heady days for people who've been working to reform the way Americans grow food and feed themselves. The food movement is it, as it is now called. Markets for alternative kinds of food, local and organic and pastured, are thriving. Farmers' markets are popping up like mushrooms, and for the first time in more than a century, the number of farmers tallied in the Department of Agriculture census has gone up rather than down. The new Secretary of Agriculture has dedicated his department to sustainability and hold meetings with the sorts of farmers and activists who not many years ago stood outside the marble walls of the USDA holding signs of protest and snarling traffic when their tractors. Cheap words, you might say, and it is true that so far, at least, there have been more words than deeds, but some of those words are astonishing. Like shortly before his election, Barack Obama told a reporter for The Time that our entire agricultural system is built on cheap oil, and went on to connect the dots between sprawling monocultures of industrial agriculture on one side, the energy crisis on the other, and on another, the healthcare crisis. So, this is interesting. This one seems to be more about American farmers and Americans' relationship with food. I'm very interested in this. I have some friends who are farmers, and I know dairy farmers, the rates of depression are incredibly high. They're paying 2020 prices for everything, but they're bringing in like 1980s prices that they're getting for their product. And I know the milk industry is one in great crisis. So I'm interested to see what this book has to say, although it was written a little bit earlier and may not address that, but I'm interested to hear this voice. And that's the thing. I don't know that I'm going to agree with all of these, but I kind of wanted to explore them. They are contemporary voices in a Franciscan spirit, or a spirit that people think is Franciscan. And so I want to see what those voices are, just so I can evaluate them for myself. And that's kind of a disclaimer before I get to these two. These two are going to be a little bit odd for some people. Yes, this is Gregorian Chant for ukulele. It's even for the C-tuned ukulele. Aha. And there were no pictures online. I kind of went out on a limb to get this. I'm pretty pathetic on the ukulele. I really was a percussionist, and I did play timpani, but timpani is also bass clef and ukulele is not. It's very difficult. But here's Veni Creator Spiritus, the Stabat Mater. Wow, this is some really great music here. Veni Sancte Spiriti. Like, I'm trying very hard not to mispronounce everything. Tantum Ergo. Yay, Tantum Ergo. And a lot of people might think, okay, Gregorian chant on ukulele is so irreverent. But my contention is no, because I can't take an organ everywhere I go. And if I am praying Liturgy of the Hours or something and I want to sing the song, my only option is like to pull up a YouTube video, or I do have an app that kind of plays the songs, but as hard as it tries, it's still a synthetic sounding thing. And I'm not always going to have access to YouTube or whatever when I'm out, on my phone. And yes, sometimes I can get recordings in MP3s and put them on my phone. But I don't know, even recorded music, there's something, to me, that's a little, it can be of a beautiful instrument, but it can still be a little bit more irreverent than somebody playing it live. And even if I'm only playing it in a very small way, it brings me into the experience more. And I'm not saying I do it for large groups. The only person I've ever played my ukulele for, I think, in public was my friend Lauren this last summer when we were at the Women of Grace retreat at Malvern, and I played the ukulele when we were praying morning prayer. But I just prayed some chords. So this is going to be something beautiful to add back in. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. Yeah, so the difference is with some, sorry, and I'm saying all this and I'm not even showing you the music. So it actually shows you the ukulele, the tune in regular music as well as in tab nomenclature. So awesome. This is going to make it so accessible for people because it's both. Okay. Yeah. And this was done in 2012, so it is fairly new, and that's probably why I hadn't heard of it before. If you're wondering who it's by, I will just hold it up again. The name is over here. I'm not even going to try. I don't even know what language that is. Okay, here is my last book, and so don't get mad at me because I am just so curious as to what this is. It says Franciscan Catechism, Progressives' Fake News on the Saint from Assisi, and it's by Guido Vignelli. Let's see how recent this is. This is from 2019. The testimony of saints today. Was St. Francis a do-gooder? Was St. Francis a pacifist? Was St. Francis against the Crusades? Oh, so this is all question and answer formats for the chapters. Was St. Francis an ecumenicist? Was St. Francis a friend of Islam? Was he a libertarian? Did St. Francis object to ecclesiastical authority? Was St. Francis a revolutionary? Was St. Francis egalitarian? Was St. Francis an ecologist? Was St. Francis against the culture? Was St. Francis opposed to civilization? What is the real meaning of Franciscan poverty? And what is the real Franciscan spirit? It actually starts out with, Testimonies of Saints today. It's a pretty accessible book. It's not terribly thick. And I like this short question and answer format. It does have footnotes right on the bottom of the page, so you can get the references where he's getting his information. You can make your own judgments then from there. Wow, even like, what was St. Francis's relationship like with the nobles of his time? How did they react to the coming of the Franciscan order? That was was he egalitarian? So there's sub-questions under the questions. Good to know. So it does go pretty in-depth here. I'm pretty interested in this just to really go more deeply into those questions, right? Wow. Oh, so the English version just came out the 26th of February 2020, and I got it in its March 2020. So, okay, it just came out. That's why I hadn't really heard about it. I'm just curious about this book. So I have quite the variety here, I think. Whew. These are some crazy books here. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about some Franciscan literature, or not. And I hope that as you go deeper into your Lenten journey and your faith journey, you remember to take the time to go out and pray, some time to be silent, some time to spend with your spiritual director, and some time to expand your horizons and learn new things. And as always, remember to pray before you read these, that the Holy Spirit might enlighten you and lead you in the direction that He would wish. God bless, friends.